Good day. Welcome to another edition of Africans in America podcast. With me is Wariche.
Hi, everyone.
As Africans in America, something significant happened over the past week.
Hmm.
There was an election, and a Ugandan-born immigrant did the unthinkable. He won the He is the new mayor-elect of New York, the biggest city in America, the largest city. I think the population of New York is about 8 million or more. His name is Zohran Mandani. He's a Muslim. He's Indian descent, heritage. And he made Africa proud when despite everything that was thrown at him by billionaires, by the Republicans, and no doubt by the President of America, he
Hmm.
won and is now the mayor-elect of New York City. Woriche, he's a member of your party, and you all were
Hmm.
celebrating this past election cycle.
Indeed.
Yes.
Yes,
How do
yes,
you
yes.
feel? How do you feel about Mandani's victory?
I love it. Hi, everyone. I love it. It's the best thing I've seen in a while. Especially because it's an immigrant like me, right? I think that, there was this very poignant thing he said when he said New York was built by immigrants, which we all know, right? It's been built by immigrants. It was founded by immigrants, built by immigrants, and then now he as an immigrant, he's now the mayor. Oh, I think it just speaks to what we always talk about when we say, America being the home of the brave, or the land of the brave, the home of the free, right? That melting pot that you can come to America from whatever angle of the world, whatever popular, place in the world, and find your home in America, right? That's what's significant about his race for me, amongst other things. Like he has some good social democratic socialist policies, etc. But for me, what's significant is that feeling that I know all so well as an immigrant, where when you come to a new place, right, you want to feel like you belong, right? He relocated more, when he was younger, and so it's just like my kids who relocated when they were really young. They're practically American, right? And so their whole understanding of the world and everything is really American. But people like me who still have that part of me that is very aware of how things work in my own place and is aware of how different things are for me in America, right? It sort of just gives that feeling of wow, your voice can be heard, and that's what he signifies for me. One of the many things he signifies is your voice can be heard. You matter in America. And if you notice, first of all, he's been celebrated across the world, right? A lot of people who don't even live in America are celebrating him, right? And I think that he also speaks to a particular group, right, which is a lot of people who are really tired of politics as usual. They're tired of, they want, it's that thing where you want your voice heard. So he speaks to the voice of the people, right? The fact that there was this thing with the governor where he's proposing to increase taxes, but the governor doesn't want to increase taxes. And I just kind of heard a conversation where they talked about the fact that, because of the billionaire donors, et cetera, people don't want to ruffle feathers. And that can be understandable. But what about the people? We want to start coming from the angle of how about the people, the mom and pop shops, the people who can barely make ends meet. These are the voices we want to hear. We want to hear what it is they want. And clearly in New York, they spoke. They they
Yeah.
they they, they made sure their voices were heard.
Yeah, you're a
Yes.
member of the Democratic Party. We hear that the Democratic Party hierarchy, the leaders of the Democratic Party did not even support him. He was not supported, was not a candidate of theirs, and
It's the
they
voice
did.
of the people. Mhm.
Yeah, they threw their weight behind the or they didn't support him. The billionaires didn't support him. And New
He
York
wouldn't.
is,
He wants to increase the taxes by, I think, like 2%, I think. They
mhm,
don't, yeah, they wouldn't support him. But, and then again, we might want to touch on the fact that he's also a Muslim, right?
he's
So
a
that's kind of,
Muslim.
that too sticks out like a sore
And
thumb.
the New York City is the largest city, is the city with the largest amount of Jews in the world outside of Israel. They have a lot of Jews there, and to a large extent, quite a lot of them supported him. But because he said that, unlike most other people that were in that campaign, he will not be, his first action will not be to run off to Israel. His action will be to take care of New York. A
Mhm,
large um, lobby went against him. They felt that he was going
mhm,
to be not the candidate of APAC and all that. So he really
mhm,
came up against a lot of things, you know. But
mhm, mhm.
it's something very major to celebrate among the immigrant
I agree.
community. Mm.
I agree. And the
When you,
celebration continues indeed, because not only, again, like we said, the fact that he's immigrant, but his policies, his agenda that he's hoping
mm,
to push, right? It's like, okay, free healthcare, right? It's like,
hmm
I wrote a couple of them down, free buses, even.
hmm
So these are important things that the people want to hear, especially at a time like this. It was one of those things where you say, right place, right time. We're
yeah.
talking about people needing money, food stamps being cut off, people are
hmm
frustrated and all of that. And so he just walked right into his
Destiny.
kingdom. Yes, his race with that, with what was going on in the country. And I think that also affected the
He
vote.
is actually the youngest mayor. He will be the youngest mayor of New York ever.
Wonderful.
31 years. He came
He's
here
also
in
very
2018.
intelligent and articulate as well.
He's a
So
natural
he's
born politician. In fact, Bernie Sanders was
exactly.
saying it that he's so natural is because his leaning, his democratic leaning is closer affiliated to the the policies of Bernie Sanders, who is also considered to be a socialist Democrat by others too. But for the African community, what can they take out of this? He's not black, obviously, but he's still an African. We know that the Indian community is very big in East Africa. I know that for a fact
Yeah.
because if you go to cities, to countries like Kenya, Tanzania has a lot of them. Uganda has a lot, but the largest Indian community in Africa is in South Africa.
Yeah.
They are part of it, and many of them have dual relationship between Africa and America these days.
Mhm. So
Mm.
what can they take away from this?
hmm
Everything. He speaks for us. It's one voice. It's first of all, he's an immigrant, right? And so that speaks for our base or our community. But beyond the skin, beyond ethnicity, beyond all of that is what he represents. Again, you can come to this amazing country and your voice will be heard,
hmm
right? You can be, if you're so inclined, you can be a leader. You can rule and do what needs to be done. You can be the voice of the people. I think
hmm
that's what the African community will take away from this is, he's serving that purpose. Again, it's almost like, okay, he even grew up, he was born in Uganda. That's like a tie right there, right? So he is technically African, right? And then
hmm
his Indian base as well, and all that. So it goes beyond ethnicity or even race at this point. It's really what he signifies. America is a land of the brave, home of the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that in and of itself should give any immigrant or any African confidence,
Yes,
in
Donald
their
Trump
new home.
is from New York. He has a lot of investments in New York. But Donald Trump also has another history with another African-born politician in
Mhm.
America, Ila Omar, the one from Somalia who is in the Congress and is from Minneapolis, Minnesota there. So she's a big,
I mean,
big
Ilhan Omar.
Ilhan Omar. So she's
What
a
about
big
her?
I mean, he joins her as President
Oh,
Trump is not
yes.
too happy. Is not too happy
No,
with. with them whenever they win elections,
No, no,
and
no, no.
and they have
Donald Trump
to.
doesn't approve of immigrants. We already know this. He's already,
Mm,
like attacking this young man and talking about, if he keeps talking about those cuts or whatever, he's going to be, if he keeps, whatever policies or whatever things he wants to push, he has to, deal with cuts to his funding. And that's interesting because, you know, it just again speaks to Donald Trump and what it is he's about, right?
mm.
It's about, okay, don't cut taxes, this and that. He's fighting. He's already being. In fact, I heard it, Elon Musk on what's this guy Rogan's podcast. He's
Mm.
actually also opposed to him in some way, shape, or form. At least that's what I took from the conversation, right? He mentioned something about being a charismatic swindler. And then Rogan wanted him to expand on that. Okay, what do you mean by charismatic swindler? And I don't know that he actually did expand on it really. And so that was very interesting. I thought that was
Yes,
very
yes.
interesting.
Just before the election,
Uh-huh.
he endorsed Como, the former
Mhm.
governor. He didn't endorse Mandani. Mandani is a little bit radical. We should understand one thing. Elon Musk too is an immigrant.
Yeah, that's why I found it. I was surprised that
Yes,
he
but
took
you
that
see, there's
position.
there's some form of thing. There's maybe sometimes we should understand what really are the forces that drive some of these decisions, and it ties back to Israel because they have a very big lobby in America and they control the whole finance space. The whole of
Mhm.
finance is controlled by people who support the Zionist movement in Israel. Most times they are Jews. So
Mhm.
if you are part of the billionaire class, they make you billionaires in the first place because it is when they direct investment towards your business that you might achieve that kind of level of growth. Like
Growth.
and now they favor a lot of people leaning into their space, like Oracle, Michael Dell, that is Larry Ellison, Michael Dell, Sam
Mhm.
Altman. All these people are people that have been created and made very powerful by the finance class, and the finance class
Mhm.
is Jewish. And if you want your company to be doing well on the stock exchange, you better be good with them. And
Mhm.
if they don't
So,
like, if they don't like Mandini because Mandini has said that he will arrest Netanyahu, you see how these things all tie up. He says if Netanyahu comes into New York, he will arrest Netanyahu. Then you won't be seen to be supporting him because it will not be in the interest of your business. They will dump your shares. They will make you a former billionaire. Not that they can make Elon Musk a former billionaire, but he still has a lot of things he's doing with them. And sometimes it's good to have these deeper insights as to how,
as to
um,
how these things work.
yeah,
It could
these
also just be his
relationships work.
personal opinion as well.
Yeah,
He
it
should
could be
probably
it could be his
influence.
own personal opinion, but I
Mhm.
know that people like Mandini and some things are tripwire. Especially he is very sensitive since he has X, and since in X he allows all strands of opinion. They are trying to get him not to allow people who say some things against Israel on X, but he has pushed back against that. So
Mhm.
some there is one anti-defamation league. There was one group called
Mhm.
Anti-Defamation League, and they called him an anti-Semite because he allows everybody to have their express their opinions on X.
Opinions. Mhm.
And he is very sensitive to those kind of things. He even sued them, but he is always conscious. He's walking a thin line. He's walking a thin line.
Mhm.
It's created by the financiers. It can be destroyed by them. All
Oh
the
wow.
billionaires.
Indeed.
So
So I think that
they
some of
control
the
BlackRock and all the financial institutions. So there's nothing you can do about it. You have to be careful with them.
you have to be careful. So I think one of the stronger arguments I heard about why they don't like the fact that Mamdani is mayor is that there's going to be a huge attraction for, as they said, the word, they said, people who don't have papers, people who don't have papers, and that a lot of the higher earners will move from New York, right? Because obviously they don't want to pay more in taxes. And then who's going to troop in will be the people who want handouts and who,
Mm-hmm.
that type of thing. It did sound a bit racist when I heard the argument. So, but I'm trying to tie it to what you said about maybe the Jewish population or the Jewish, whatever, as to whether they probably see it that way, that, that things in New York will definitely take a not necessarily take a nosedive. I think that would be too extreme for us to say we'll take a nosedive. But I mean, I think maybe the argument, like some of them were saying, is that it could change the way New York currently is and how it, you know what I mean? Like in terms, because
Yeah,
now there's
but
less investors and more dependents, should I
I
say?
think the word he used, being that it was a democratic socialite and a
Mhm.
democratic socialist of America.
Yeah,
That is a word they don't like. They don't like the word socialist and they
they
like the
don't.
word communism.
It
So
sounds
once
like
you,
people just want
it
handouts.
sounds, they call it like communism. That simply means that it says the state, the state should be more involved in helping people out and all that, it is not new in America, but it is something that they rail against because of capitalism. We should understand one thing. Maybe some things are very deep, and it is very good to understand them. Communism and socialism came up in the West, in Eastern Europe, in Russia. What it does is that it seized people's property and it seized a lot of property of the wealthy. Who tended to be the wealthy? It tended also to be the financiers. They lost a lot. So when they ended up in New York and in London, where they ran as refugees, they made sure
Mhm.
that they don't particularly like that word communism or socialism anytime it comes. And that's the reason why during World War II, immediately the war ended, they just decided that we agreed that Soviet Union helped us win this war, but we don't want them to continue again because it will mean they will seize our property. So those concepts and those ideologies are not they don't like it. That's the same thing too that is happening in Cuba, and that's why, and Venezuela, and that's why they are
Yeah.
trying to attack them and everything. But about let's go back to our African immigrants. It's ironical
Mhm.
that Elon Musk, who is the richest man in Africa in the world, who is an
Yeah.
African man, but is trying to stop an African man's shine.
Not anymore.
Ah,
He's not the richest anymore.
but yes, you see that thing. It's Ellison now. It's Ellison that is the richest man. And the reason why Ellison is the richest man is because the financiers who control things are the ones who buy his shares and create the valuation that we see. I wanted to ask you now, how is politics? How do you see African immigrants and generally immigrants in the political space? How,
They're doing
going,
amazing. I know a few of them. I know a few of them doing great. They're doing amazing. I mean, are you trying to say what are their chances of being in
yeah, what are
office,
their chances? What are the
or how
obstacles?
well do they do when they're in office?
Mm-hmm.
I
Do
mean,
you,
so I'll answer both. So, how well do they do based on the ones that I know firsthand? They're doing amazing, and they love them because they know what they're doing. They speak for the people, and they're dedicated to what they've committed to. Now, how easy is it for them? Um, I'm one of them that ran for office, right? So I always come back to myself, right? I don't think that the fact that I was African negatively impacted my run for office. Should I rephrase that? I don't think that it was based on me being African. I feel like there were more not bureaucratic. There were more hierarchical. I
hierarchical,
for the
that kind wait
word
for your turn kind of
type thing
mindset.
that set route. It was sort of like, they didn't the way I went in, which was not even doing the primaries. I just petitioned. That in and of itself probably rattled both the DNC, the Democratic Town Committee, as well as all of that. But yeah. So in my case, it was more about they probably wanted me to be more visible and probably put in more time to get in there. Now, with
Mm,
other Africans, a lot of Africans really don't technically go into politics. You know, Africans I want to talk about the money factor here. So
mm,
running for state rep in Connecticut, let's start with that. You're only going to be paid $28,000 for 5 months, right? It's kind of like it's you know what I mean? So it's like Africans are more professional, right? They're either doctors or this or that or that. So they don't want to dedicate that type of time. And I might be wrong speaking for them, but they might not want to dedicate that level of time to that kind of thing. It's really not about the leadership for them at that point.
mm.
It'll be about, okay, I want to be able to feed my family. I want to be able to, earn an income and all that. So I don't see how Africans would really make it a priority to be leaders. Now, that being said, a lot of Africans I have seen,
Yeah.
one ran for governor in Connecticut, but he didn't win. Again,
Mm,
I think that the fact that we didn't grow up in that community, and so our strength is not really in like the people I met. I had to convince them, even though when I did convince them, they supported me. But you have to do more of more legwork, trying to make yourself known,
yeah.
trying to prove that you even understand what the issues are, trying to, convince them that you can represent them well type of thing. Mine, it was easier because I used to write, they could see the things I had written here and there, and they heard me speak a couple of times. So they agreed, but I didn't have the support of
Well,
the Democratic Party, like because they had that other person who had been there for a while. And so I think that as an African, it was challenging, it was difficult. I would tell anybody any day, go and do the work, meet the right people, and gain the support of the party, right?
yeah.
Even if you don't get the support of the party, gain the support of at least of the people in the town. So give yourself enough time to go out there and meet the people, and they will support you, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
well, I do know that some have achieved successes, though. I know
A lot of them
of a
have.
Nigerian who was a one. He got into Congress in Washington
Yeah, a
D.C.
lot of them. A
They
lot of
have
them.
mayors all across the country. I know the
Mayor,
mayor
state
of
representatives.
Boulder, Colorado, but they are
Mhm.
mainly at councilmen. They get into
A couple
council
of them.
offices and
A couple of
city
them.
offices. They participate. I still run an online newspaper, so sometimes I report on this.
Yes,
And
yes, yes.
mm,
But the truth is, like I said, it takes a lot of dedication to be in politics. You have to be heart and soul connected to wanting to speak for the people, right?
mm,
It's not about money. There's no money. You're not going there to make any money. You're going there to represent the people. And I always believe that based on the Africans and our Africans, as I know us, a lot of us are more involved in professional spheres of society.
mm.
And I don't see that a great population would want to dedicate their time, not because they can't. It's just that maybe they're too busy. The incentive is not enough in terms of the financial incentive and all of that. So they wouldn't necessarily, but the ones who do it do amazing work and represent the people
Yes,
very
I think in the North African space, North American space, forgive me, they do better in Canada. In America,
well.
they are also here, but I know that some of them have got into um, positions in Canada. The biggest
Oh,
position the biggest position I remember is one Nigerian was Attorney General but yeah, the way their Canadian system is that they have to be in Parliament first, right, before they can get those positions. And he was in
positions. That's
Alberta,
so cool.
Alberta. I think he was a lawyer in Alberta. So they do take part in politics at the local level.
They do. They do.
Mm,
But again, it's not something that is exactly common. It's not
yes,
something exactly
I
common.
think we should any of our viewers who knows of some African immigrant participation in politics in their local areas across America. If you know of any, please put it in the comment section. Let's get educated about it. I'm sure that
Mhm.
they are much more than we know. One of the things
They
is that
are.
we really are
Actually,
not as
Nigeria. They
Mm.
have all these blogs. They list them. They list the people who either won offices in a particular year or election
Did you see the one
cycle.
of the one who was running either for mayor or council in
Where
Minneapolis, and he flew the Somali flag, and he told
that's lovely.
yes, he flew this. They used it against him. The media was really against him because he was running, and in Minneapolis, because they have large Ethiopian and Somali population, they are
Populations,
very
yeah,
much in the city. They are the
yeah,
city and the state level elections. They take part in
yeah.
them.
It's
Mm,
interesting because, like I always say, right, from a sociological perspective, the fact that you can leave your land and come to a new place and start life, it's not even about how old you were when you moved, right? But the fact that you're starting then to make this new place a home. It operates on a subconscious level, but you're constantly looking for ways to belong. You're constantly you're wanting that validation
mm,
that they see you, and they want, not necessarily want you, but that they back you up. It's just that feeling of belonging. It's very typical and very normal. And so I want to think that every immigrant, right, who even dares run for office, because now you're saying, I want to represent you with my limited knowledge of America, or my
mm.
whatever, my accent, my differences, I still want to represent you in my new land. I think that it's so powerful. We take it for granted. It may
Mm.
more the citizens take it for granted than us, because it's more like we're saying, this is me. I'm here. I've made this my home. Because when you talk to refugees or asylees, I always say this, the one thing that sticks out for them is the fact that home was became uncomfortable, and so they had to find a new place. And so as much as there's a part of them that still desires to be home, there's a bigger part that wants to belong, and not just belong, but be told you belong. And the way you're going to be told you belong is if the people come together, support you, and are proud to say, oh, you represent us, or this or that. So it's something that I can almost say is at the root or the base of the motivation as
Yeah.
to why immigrants actually try to participate. Even when I vote, when I cast my vote, it's like my friends and I, when we're talking about, we just did the special election in California. We were excited. We're all immigrants. We were so excited to even just shade the
Yeah,
paper
it's
and mark our
you get
one
to a
yes.
certain level of achievement in America before you even
I'm
get the
telling
right
you,
to
because you
vote.
remember the
So
entire journey, the entire
anyway,
journey.
let's not forget
So
that
yeah.
an African has been president of America before, and African continues to be the richest man in America till today. President Obama is from Kenya. We should know that his dad was there. He continues to maintain good relationship with Kenya.
He's
And
American though. They
yeah,
would, America has a way of translating it. They wouldn't say necessarily he's from Kenya. They would say his dad is from Kenya while he is
Yeah.
American. So
Yes, but
they have a different way.
I like the way they make it. But anyhow, his whole family is there, his heritage is there, his roots are there,
Indeed.
and he acknowledges that he's not one of those people
Indeed.
who runs away from it. And in the little time we have, just about 2 minutes, I would just like to urge anybody who's new to our channel to please subscribe. And we do this. We talk about African immigrant journey in America. We also talk about geopolitics. We talk about how it ties up to everything. Yeah, last week we talked about the raging topic, which is the topic of President Trump's threat to attack Nigeria because of Christian killings. That is still an ongoing story. Maybe in another video again, we will do it. Warwick, do you have one last word for our very
Yes,
lovely
I want to say in
customers?
general, I was very proud of what the Democrats pulled off, right? I know you're not a Democrat, but I'll still acknowledge us.
I
It
can't
was
vote,
a
so
win.
I have no leaning.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm still
That's
in the
fine. It was a
journey.
great win. Some women were sworn in, or were not sworn in, but you know what I mean. They won, and it's like, I just feel like the time calls for Democrats right now. The things we believe in, the things we push for now, exactly, and also what's going on in America now, what's playing out in America with all our systems being like, crippled or whatever. I think that it was a success. I love what Californian governor did. It was just amazing. And he was able to save, how do they say in all these their sports, he saved the game or whatever
Mm.
by, with the redistricting and all that. So what I have to say is not just the win was not just from the immigrants, right? The Mandani guy, it was also across the board with the Democrats. And you might want to join us.
No problem.
You might want to join us.
One of the things I'll tell you though is that while we may be focusing on the New York mayoral, there were governorship elections, there were
Yeah.
elections to being judges, there were
Yes.
propositions and so many things that affect
It
so
was a
many
huge
communities.
win.
Some of those communities are heavily populated by Africans, especially in Texas, maybe in Houston and in
Mm-hmm.
Los Angeles and New York. Anyway, we are running out of time, so we'll just have to say, if you're new to our channel, please subscribe. If you have any comments regarding the opinions we just expressed, please put them in the comment section. Do well to like and share. We'll see you again in our next video. Woriche, you have a good
Bye,
day.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.